Adult life is mostly improvisation. There comes a moment in life when you suddenly realise something that feels both comforting and deeply concerning. Most adults have absolutely no idea what they're doing. Welcome, come on in, get comfy and let's sit for a while. Because today we need to talk about one of the strangest discoveries of adulthood. And that is realising that everyone around you seems far more certain than they actually are. Because when you're younger, adults appear incredibly organised. They seem confident, capable, like they understand life completely. You assume there's some point where everything becomes clear, when you suddenly know how to manage life, how to make decisions, how taxes work, and what all the buttons on the washing machine actually do. But then you become an adult yourself. And slowly, a horrifying truth reveals itself. Nobody knows. Most of adulthood is simply people trying things and hoping for the best. People confidently press buttons without fully understanding the consequences. People nod during conversations, then quietly Googling things later. People use phrases like, "I'll circle back on that," not because they know what they're doing, but because it sounds reassuring. And perhaps the greatest performance of all is the professional phone voice. People answer work calls sounding, "Yes, absolutely, happy to help with that," while internally thinking, "I have absolutely no idea what's happening." And somehow this is considered normal. And the strange thing is, the people who seem the most confident often aren't the people who know the most. They're just the people who've become comfortable sounding certain, even while improvising. And adulthood is full of these tiny moments. Opening an email and immediately feeling, "That looks important." Receiving a letter and carrying it around the house for 3 days before emotionally preparing yourself to open it. Nodding during technical conversations, hoping no one asks a follow-up question. And somewhere along the way you start to notice something comforting. The people around you, the people who seem composed, successful, completely together, are often figuring things out, moment by moment, exactly like you are. And perhaps the strangest part of adulthood is how much energy goes into looking like you know what you're doing, even when you absolutely do not. For example, technology conversations. Everyone suddenly becomes an expert. People confidently say things like, "Oh, it's probably a syncing issue." What does that mean? Nobody knows. But it sounds believable. And somehow that's enough. Or when someone explains something technical to you, and halfway through you completely lose the thread. But instead of admitting it, you keep nodding, hoping your face looks intelligent enough to carry you through the rest of the conversation. And then at the end you say, "Perfect, that makes sense," even though nothing made sense. And then there's the performance of being a responsible adult, which mostly involves carrying reusable bags, pretending you understand insurance, and becoming strangely interested in kitchen appliances. At some point you find yourself comparing vacuum cleaners with genuine emotional investment. And that's when you realise life has changed. And let's not forget the endless lists. Adults love a list, because writing something down creates the temporary illusion that life is under control, even if the list itself is causing stress. And modern adulthood also introduced the strange competition of being busy. "How have you been?" "Oh, busy." Everyone's busy. No one fully knows what they're busy doing, but apparently we're all exhausted. And another strange adult experience is becoming emotionally affected with the price of butter. As a child, you never imagined that one day you'd stand in a supermarket quietly offended by vegetables. Yet here we are. And when you really look at it, a huge part of adulthood is simply learning how to appear calm while internally improvising. Not because you're dishonest, but because nobody really pauses life to say, right, before continuing, here's how everything works. So instead, people learn as they go, quietly, messily, one slightly confusing situation at a time. And somehow, despite all of this, most people still manage to keep moving forward, which is honestly quite impressive. And when you really step back from all of this, the meetings, the confident voices, the carefully organised calendars, you start to notice something. Most people are figuring life out as they go, because confidence isn't always certainty. A lot of the time it's familiarity. People don't necessarily know everything. They've just experienced something enough times to look calmer while doing it, which is very different. And perhaps this is the part people don't talk about enough. Almost everyone feels behind in some area of life. Someone who seems successful at work may feel completely confused about relationships. Someone who looks organised may secretly have 20 tabs open in their brain at a time. Someone giving advice confidently may have Googled the exact same problem the night before. And honestly, there's something strangely comforting about this, because for a long time, many people quietly assume they're the only one struggling to keep up, the only one improvising, the only one occasionally staring at paperwork, hoping understanding will arrive naturally. But then, slowly, you begin to realise almost everyone is doing that. And maybe adulthood was never supposed to feel completely mastered. Maybe it was always going to involve guessing sometimes, learning constantly, adapting repeatedly, and pretending to understand printer settings. Because honestly, nobody fully understands printer settings. And perhaps part of the problem is that modern life creates the illusion that everyone else is coping perfectly. People present finished versions of themselves, organised versions, confident versions, but rarely the moments behind the scenes where they're tired, confused, or quietly searching online, why is my laptop making that noise? And maybe instead of seeing uncertainty as failure, it's better to see it as part of being alive. Because life keeps changing, technology changes, work changes, people change, and no one gets handed a complete instruction manual beforehand. So perhaps the goal isn't to become someone who always knows exactly what they're doing. Maybe the goal is simply to become more comfortable figuring things out along the way, which, when you think about it, is probably what most people are already doing, even the confident ones. And perhaps the next time you feel like everyone else has life completely figured out, you can remember something important. Most people are just doing their best while trying to look calm in public. And honestly, that's probably enough. I'd love to ask, what's the most adult thing you've ever pretended to understand? Thank you for sharing your time with me today. Take gentle care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.